All right. Now, in this video, I want to look at the problem of if we have more than one source by the same author. So let's imagine we were watching this interview of Scott Galloway and we wanted to quote him. So I'm going to play this first part. Hopefully you can hear it. Otherwise, just read the closed caption.
25% of America is comfortable with an autocrat.
As long as the autocrat represents. We're eating each other in the U.S. internally. A third of Republicans and Democrats see members of the other party as their mortal enemy. 25% of America is comfortable with an autocrat as long as the autocrat represents his or her ideals.
I'm going to take something from the very first line. So the first line he says is a third of Republicans and Democrats see members of the other party as their mortal enemy. And then Galloway is the source of that. And then later, I want to quote from the book Adrift, page 148, where he talks about the same subject. So in this piece, he says that in 1960, 1 in 25 parents had concerns about their child marrying someone from the opposite political party. By 2018, almost half of Democratic parents and a third of Republican parents had such concerns. And let's imagine that I didn't want to include the Republican piece, just the fact that it went from 25% to 50%, or nearly 50%. All right. And that's not really 50%. He said almost half. So in his chart it says 45%. So I have these two quotations that I might use in my essay. They're both from Galloway. One of them has a page number because it's from the book. The other one doesn't. And I actually could, if I wanted, I could do a timestamp, which would be probably 3 seconds or 2 seconds in to about 8 seconds. I could put that timestamp there. I don't want to, but you could. But that would, in a sense, kind of shows the reader which source you're using, but you have to add more. So let's say I got started on my works cited list and I had the book. So since it's a book, I'll put it in italics. And now I have to put the interview. So I go to the interview. Galloway is the person speaking. And by the way, that quotation that I used actually comes later in the podcast. And this is the title. Why is this generation struggling so much? With a kind of mini dash and Scott Galloway. But then there's a straight line. And when there's a straight line, that means that's the end. They're doing that to put it on the same line instead of doing a carriage return to the next line. Okay, so I'll go ahead and copy that. I'll go back to my document, and when I paste, I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to paste without formatting so that it does Times New Roman 12. I could add the interviewer here, but Galloway talks most of the time. The interviewer does talk a lot, but he's not really relevant from what Galloway has said that I've tried to get. So I really don't need to include the interviewer. His name does show up because it's his website, so his name will be there. I could say that he's the interviewer, but he's the publisher as well. So I have, again, YouTube. I have Chris Williamson. I have the date. Again, it's October 24th, 2022. And then I have the URL. So I need to add all of those elements. So next will come the name of the container, which again is YouTube, period. And then I'll be promised from the rest. The publisher was again Chris Williamson. Oops, didn't type it on the website. Chris Williamson. You can see I've hang indented. That's the second line starts there, a half inch in. Chris Williamson, and then the date was, I can't remember, it was October 24th. 24 October 2022. So 24 October 2022, comma. If you want to write out October, that's fine with me. I like it longer. There's no reason to abbreviate, really. But and then I have to put the URL. So I copy that. Again, I will paste without formatting. And then I will put a period and a space, and that'll make it hot. Now, one thing that we have to do whenever we have these multiple sources, make sure they're in the right order. And obviously, adrift, Scott Galloway is going to line up the same, but adrift comes before the word why. So that's how we're going to distinguish them as those two words. And also, let me show you something too. When you have the same author, once you have the alphabetical order, the next time you put the author's name, you're going to do 3 hyphens instead. Okay? And Google Docs knows, I don't know why it has the dots underneath it, but Google Docs knows that 3 is a certain kind of mark. So it's connected them together, 3 hyphens. And that means that it's the same author as above. So Scott Galloway adrift, Scott Galloway, sorry about that. I have to go around here and turn. My wife left her phones here. She has a couple work phones, and they keep making noises. At any rate, Scott Galloway adrift and Scott Galloway why. And that's how I'm going to distinguish them. So this one would have the page number. So what I'm going to do is to add a comma, and then I'm going to put adrift in italics because it's just the first word. And then this one, I'm going to put a comma and do why. And this way, when the reader sees that it's from adrift and sees why, the reader will know which of these sources to consult.